Welcome back. You're watching WION World is One. This is World DNA, the show that gets you ahead of the rest. I'm Shivan Chalna.
And I'm Hemkaur Saroy. And on the show today, as the United States attempts to bring Iran back to the negotiations table, Iran has criticized the US president's shifting stance with regards to lifting of sanctions, access to funds as psychological and media games, questioning even if the United States is truly serious about having a dialogue and finding a lasting solution. We'll get you all the details on the show today.
Also on World DNA, Indian External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has once again called out terrorism and its human cost while inaugurating an exhibition titled Human Cost of Terrorism at the UN headquarters, saying it is imperative to call it out publicly, and one way of doing so is to display the havoc that it has wreaked on the global society. We'll bring you all the details of that address. Let's start with the headlines.
Finalizing these agreements, and you'll hear from the president and his team, his trade team, very soon when it comes to India.
The United States and India are nearing a major trade agreement as the July 9 tariff deadline looms. Treasury Secretary Basant says India's high tariffs make a deal easier, but agriculture remains a sticking point. Negotiators are racing to seal a win-win deal before tariffs snap back.
Brazil has Scorpion submarines. They are interested in partnering with us in maintaining those submarines. They also seem to be interested in the Akash air defense system and in coastal surveillance systems, Garuda artillery guns.
Brazil has expressed interest in acquiring several of India's homegrown defense solutions, including the Akash air defense system, Garuda artillery guns and secure communication systems.
Foreign ministers from the Group of Seven Nations say they support the ceasefire between Israel and Iran, urging for negotiations to resume for a deal to address Iran's nuclear program. G7 ministers also call for all parties to avoid actions that could further destabilize the region.
Large blast was seen over the Gaza Strip recently as Israeli strikes continue. Gaza officials claim at least 74 people killed in Gaza on Monday with airstrikes, with 30 dead in airstrikes and 23 killed in gunfire near food and camps.
US State Department revokes the visas for British rap punk duo Bob Vylan, who were set to go on tour in the United States later this year. Bob Vylan accused of caused controversy after they led crowds of music fans in chanting "Death to Israeli military" during a performance at the Glastonbury Festival.
US senators continue a marathon vote on President Donald Trump's flagship spending bill, a deeply divisive package expected to slash social programs for the poor and add $3 trillion to the national debt.
Turkish authorities detained two cartoonists and the editor of a satirical magazine over a drawing that appeared to depict prophets Moses and Muhammad.
Turkey continues to battle wildfires in southern province of Hatay. Over 50,000 people evacuated so far.
Day 1 of Wimbledon ends in controversy. Taylor Fritz's match is suspended due to the SW19 curfew, with Alexander Zverev's opener also paused. Both matches will resume on day 2. Now, Israel continues its offensive in Gaza. A large blast was seen over the strip overnight as Gaza's civil defense agency said Israeli forces killed at least 74 people on Monday.
Now, airstrikes at a seaside cafe left 30 people dead while 23 were killed in a gunfire as Palestinians tried to get the desperately needed food aid. And this as Donald Trump is all set to host Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu at the White House on the 7th of July for the third time since Trump's return to office. On Monday, Trump urged Israel to make the deal in Gaza, while key mediator Qatar said that the momentum has been created by the truce with Iran last week.
Defense Minister Israel Katz, during a meeting with Netanyahu and the army's general staff, highlighted how Israel now faces the completion of the campaign in Gaza to achieve its objectives. Foremost among them, the release of all hostages.
Israel's UN ambassador Danny Danon said that the war in Gaza would not end until about 50 Israeli hostages still held by Hamas are released.
We still have 50 hostages in Gaza, and this war will not end when the hostages are still there. So hopefully we're going to have news about the negotiations, but I will stress to the Council today our commitment to bring them home back, all of them.
As Israel faces backlash over the humanitarian situation in Gaza, Danon claimed that the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, GHF, has distributed more than 46 million meals in the enclave and went on to accuse UN of putting politics over humanitarian work by impeding the initiative.
The UN is putting politics over humanitarian work. Many in the UN are actively spreading disinformation promoted by Hamas-controlled sources, defaming the GHF's work and providing cover for further attacks.
The Israel-Iran war came to an end after 12 days, but another deadlier war is raging in Gaza.
The death toll has now risen to over 56,500. The grim tally keeps rising every passing day. Netanyahu is under pressure to end it. Trump is pushing for it. But in Gaza, the plight and misery is unending. Our next story takes you close to the reality of the most battered places on earth. Take a look.
Gaza's endless agony. Bombs fall. People flee. Civilians pay the price. The world watches, helpless. Northern Gaza has been hit hardest. These grainy images show the moment a man in Gaza carrying a bag of flour is hit by a strike. Israeli tanks push deep into eastern Gaza City. In the north, entire districts are flattened again. Evacuation orders are forcing Palestinians to flee south with nothing but their memories and what they can carry. Donkey carts roll past shattered homes, toddlers in tow, wrapped in blankets. The suffering is unending.
As you can see, there is no flour, no supplies, no food or water. We are moving from one place to another. What is our fault? What have we done to deserve this? We are all suffering from pain. We are all sick. Please, someone find a solution for us.
The humanitarian crisis is spiraling beyond control. Hospitals already on their knees from months of conflict are overwhelmed by the sheer volume of casualties. Gaza rescuers say near daily Israeli massacres at food distribution sites have killed over 400 Palestinians in the past month alone. Now, after months of wait, little aid is entering Gaza.
It's been nearly 5 months and we haven't received any notice to come and collect aid. I'm a widow raising orphans. My husband was martyred and I've lost 2 sons and a grandson. I'm caring for their orphaned children. There are 5 of us, me and the orphans. My other son is also a martyr and he left behind 4 children.
The Israeli military insists it is dismantling Hamas, launching the latest phase to clear remaining fighters. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says that his country's victory over Iran created opportunities for freeing hostages held in Gaza. 49 people are still believed to be held in Hamas captivity, including 27 the Israeli military says are dead. There is also mounting international pressure, with Trump pushing for a ceasefire, while Spain accuses Israel of genocide in Gaza. Now Ireland has become the first country in Europe to introduce legislation to ban trade with Israeli settlements in the West Bank and East Jerusalem. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Now, the White House has confirmed that US President Donald Trump's West Asia envoy Steve Witkoff has been in ongoing communication with Iranian officials.
However, during the daily press briefing, Caroline Levitt said that President Donald Trump himself has not spoken with Iran or any official there. Her remarks came as diplomatic efforts continue following a US brokered ceasefire that went into effect on the 24th of June after 12 days of hostilities, halting nearly, and there was somewhere close to 2 weeks of war between Israel and Iran.
So as I told you from the podium last week, I said the administration, and namely our special envoy Steve Witkoff, has been in communication both directly and indirectly with the Iranians. That communication continues. The president himself has not talked to Iran, which he pointed out in his truth statement.
President Trump, in a social media post, said that he was not speaking to Iran and was not offering the country anything. And he reiterated his assertion that the United States has totally obliterated Tehran's nuclear facilities.
On Monday, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi ruled out a quick resumption of talks with the United States and said Tehran will first need assurances it will not be attacked again.
In an interview with CBS Evening News, Araghchi was responding to Trump's remarks that nuclear negotiations with Iran could resume as early as this week. Meanwhile, Iran has described US President Donald Trump's shifting stance on whether to lift economic sanctions against Tehran as psychological and media games that were not aimed at solving the problems between the two countries.
These fluctuations and repeated changes in positions, which we have observed over the past 3 to 4 months as a consistent pattern in US behavior, are in no way reliable or trustworthy. These developments should be seen more as part of psychological and media games, rather than serious statements aimed at negotiation or resolving issues.
Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson said Tehran is unable to allow UN nuclear watchdog inspectors to visit its nuclear sites that were attacked by the United States and Israel during the recent war. He said Tehran's decision to halt cooperation with the UN nuclear watchdog reflects the concern and anger of the Iranian public opinion.
How are we supposed to be able to guarantee the safety and security of IAEA inspectors while our peaceful nuclear facilities have been attacked last Monday, just 5 or 6 days ago?
Furthermore, a new satellite image shows Evin prison in Tehran days after Israel bombed the facility. Iranian judiciary spokesperson said on Sunday that the June 23rd attack on Evin prison, known for housing political prisoners, killed 71 people. Evin prison has long been criticized internationally for alleged human rights abuses. And a high-stakes legal battle in Turkey is threatening to overturn the leadership of the country's main opposition party.
A local court in Ankara has adjourned a controversial graft case that could reverse the election of Republican People's Party leader Özgür Özel and possibly reset the country's political landscape.
During a brief session in Ankara, where judges delayed a hearing into alleged vote buying during CHP leadership congress last year, the case centers on the November 2023 party vote that saw Özgür Özel emerging as a victor. But the allegation of corruption did cast a big shadow on his election.
If proven, the case could invalidate the leadership results and even see key CHP figures banned from politics for up to 3 years. That is the exact time left for the next presidential election. Among those under threat is jailed Istanbul Mayor Ekrem İmamoğlu, who is widely seen as President Erdogan's biggest political rival.
İmamoğlu was removed from office earlier in the year following a separate graft probe. His ouster sparked mass protests across Turkey and allegations of a soft coup claims the government denies. Özel himself has slammed the hearing and called it a politically motivated process aimed at stopping the party's rise.
CHP has called for a mass demonstration outside Istanbul City Hall, marking 100 days since İmamoğlu's removal. Özgür Özel has vowed a continued resistance against Erdogan.
Next hearing in the court is set for the 8th of September, and that means months of uncertainty lie ahead for Turkey's largest opposition party. And the battle for the future of CHP may yet reshape the country's road to 2028.
Now, Russia is facing a crisis not on the battlefield but in the nursery.
The country's population is shrinking at a pace not seen in decades as fewer babies are being born and more people are dying young. During President Vladimir Putin's long presidency, the country's birth rate has steadily dropped. The problem has deepened since the war in Ukraine began in 2022, with Moscow sending young men to the front lines. The demographic crisis has become even harder to fix. Russia does not reveal how many men have been killed in fighting in Ukraine, but reports suggest the figure is in the tens of thousands.
Considering that I have 3 boys, I am, of course, very worried that this situation in the international context will continue. My friend had her eldest son taken into the army. She is very upset, and I am calming her down. At the same time, I understand that if I were in her place, I can't imagine how I would freak out.
Now, Russia is losing people faster than it can replace them. Widespread alcoholism has become another factor, a leading killer for men. This has pushed male life expectancy down to just 68 years. That's 12 years lower than for women. Demographers warn that if this trend continues, Russia's population could shrink by more than 15 million by 2046.
Now, the question is, what is the Russian government doing to tackle this issue? Authorities have tried to encourage bigger families by offering financial support, maternity allowances and housing help. Reports suggest that these initiatives have led to about 2.5 million extra births since 2007, and some recent policies like paying schoolgirls who give birth have caused a controversial debate, while tightening abortion laws has shown little effect.
In Russia, there is currently a demographic pit, meaning the number of men and women of childbearing age is small and continues to decrease. It has already declined significantly and will decrease further. From 2010 to 2030, it will decrease by 40%.
Putin, who rarely speaks about his own personal life, has long promoted what he calls traditional family values and the idea of a perfect Russian family. While the idea is catching on with some Russians, it remains to be seen if it can buck the decades-long trend of falling birth rates. But for now, Russia's demographic battle at home is proving even harder to win than the one abroad.
The state is working and people have become more religious and started listening more to society. It seems to me that young people are already starting to strive for this, to think about the future, about the need to get married and have as many children as possible.
And the Republicans are inching closer to getting their tax and spending cut bill through Congress with a marathon of votes underway in the Senate.
At some 940 pages, this legislation is a collection of tax breaks, spending cuts and other Republican priorities, including money for national defense and deportations.
The Democrats are united against the legislation and have offered scores of amendments to alter it. Senators can offer an unlimited number of amendments, with each receiving a vote. Once the bill clears the Senate, it would have to pass the House before Trump can sign it into law.
Now, Trump wants to have the package on his desk by the time Independence Day festivities begin on Friday, with little sign of pace picking up ahead of the final floor vote that could be delayed until well into the early hours of Tuesday. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt called for Republican resolve.
Republicans need to stay tough and unified during the home stretch, and we are counting on them to get the job done.
Non-partisan studies have concluded that the bill would ultimately pave the way for a historic redistribution of wealth from the poorest 10% of Americans to the richest, and cuts to the Medicaid program, which helps low-income Americans get coverage in a country with notoriously expensive medical insurance. Independent analysis shows cuts to the Affordable Care Act would result in nearly 12 million more uninsured people by 2034. Polls show that the bill is among the most unpopular ever considered across multiple demographics, age and income groups.
Now, former Trump aide Tesla CEO Elon Musk, who had an acrimonious public falling out with President earlier this month over the bill, continued with his sharp criticisms and renewed his calls for a new political party as voting got underway.
Through a post on social media, Musk threatened that he will launch the American if and when the bill, which he termed insane. He said that, of course, this is what he had said: if this insane spending bill passes, the American party will be formed the next day. Now, he went on to say that the country needs an alternative to the Democratic Republican parties so that the people actually have a voice, sharing a graphic representation of national debt under Democrats and under Republicans. He said they just pretend to be two parties, but it's a uni-party in reality.
Now, for more on this, a correspondent Susan Tehrani has sent us this report from the UN headquarters. Listen to this.
The Senate is currently locked in a marathon of amendment votes over President Trump's one big, beautiful bill. Key objections from Republican senators like Rand Paul and Tom Tillis, who cite concerns over Medicaid cuts and the growing deficit, have put the final passage into doubt. The bill would also extend Trump-era tax cuts that are set to expire in 2026, which means that if it doesn't pass, between 62 to 68% of Americans would face tax increases starting that year. But even if the Senate goes ahead and passes this bill, any changes would force it back in the House, where the Freedom Caucus have already threatened to withdraw their support. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
Now, in Brazil, former President Jair Bolsonaro once again took to the streets. The latest show of strength comes as he faces possible prison time.
And along with that, even a ban from public life over allegations of attempting to overturn the 2022 election results. Bolsonaro is banned from holding public office until 2030 for undermining Brazil's electronic voting system. But he still remains a central force in the country's conservative movement. Speaking to a crowd clad in Brazil's Sao Paulo, former president vowed to change Brazil's destiny.
We can solve Brazil's problems. Let me repeat. Give me 50% of the Chamber of Deputies and 50% of the Senate, and I will change Brazil's destiny.
Bolsonaro's legal trouble center around an alleged coup plot following his 2022 election loss. The leftist president, Lula da Silva. Prosecutors claim the plan included the assassination of Lula and other leaders, a plot that never materialized, partly due to lack of military backing. Bolsonaro is facing 5 charges, including organizing a coup d'etat, involvement in an armed criminal organization, trying to abolish the democratic rule of law, and threatening state assets. The court has named 7 other associates of Bolsonaro co-conspirators in the case.
Bolsonaro denies any wrongdoing. He is off the ballot for now, but Brazil heads into another election year, and Bolsonaro's trial could cast a big shadow on upcoming elections. And in South Africa, a new political crisis is brewing. The Cyril Ramaphosa government is on a slippery slope.
The ruling ANC is feeling the heat from its biggest alliance partner, that's the Democratic Alliance. The DA is now threatening to bring a motion of no confidence against Cyril Ramaphosa.
The latest spat between ANC and DA comes after Ramaphosa fired DA's Deputy Minister Andre Whitfield. This after he took an unauthorized international trip last week.
In retaliation, DA gave an ultimatum to Ramaphosa stating that he must fire corruption-accused ANC members from the cabinet. Groupings both within the DA and the ANC want the parties to terminate their working relationship with the GNU.
Now, during the weekend, the DA dug in its heels, saying that it would not be withdrawing from the Government of National Unity, GNU, despite its outrage, and instead withdrew from the national dialogue. Few days ago, Ramaphosa cancelled his visit to Spain over the weekend to manage the fallout. He responded that he would not be swayed by threats or ultimatums, insisting that he had acted within his constitutional powers in letting Whitfield go.
In the year 2024, the national and provincial elections held in South Africa, in which the African National Congress, that's the ANC, it secured 159 seats in the parliament. The Democratic Alliance, that's the DA, won 87 seats. Opposition party, that's the MK party, followed by 58 seats. The ANC and the DA performed better on a regional level, whereas the MK party performed better nationally.
The GNU was formed after the ANC lost its majority in the 2024 national elections and was forced to enter into a coalition with other parties. The DA holds 12 posts, 6 cabinet ministers as well as 6 deputy ministers.
And with that, it's time now for a short break.
Don't go anywhere. This is World DNA. When we come back, Brazil has expressed interest in acquiring several of India's homegrown defense solutions, and that includes the Akash air defense system and the Garud artillery guns. We'll bring you all the details.
A new study has revealed that Parkinson's disease, which is linked to neurological damage in the brain, starts in an unexpected part of the body, and it's the kidneys. We'll get you all the details of this on the other side. Stay tuned.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch. WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide, because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching World DNA with AIM. I'm Shivan. Let's start with the headlines.
They are finalizing these agreements, and you'll hear from the president and his team, his trade team, very soon when it comes to India.
US and India nearing a major trade agreement as the July 9 tariff deadline looms. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says India's high tariffs make a deal easier, but agriculture remains a sticking point. Negotiators are racing to seal a win-win deal before tariffs snap back.
Brazil has Scorpion submarines. They are interested in partnering with us in maintaining those submarines. They also seem to be interested in the Akash air defense system and in coastal surveillance systems, Garuda artillery guns.
Brazil has expressed interest in acquiring several of India's homegrown defense solutions. That includes Akash air defense system, Garuda artillery guns and secure communication systems.
Elon Musk says a new party called the America Party will be formed if President Trump's spending bill passes. Also threatens to target lawmakers, those voting for the bill in the primary next year.
Foreign ministers from the group of 7 nations say they support the ceasefire between Israel and Iran, urging for negotiations to resume for a deal to address Iran's nuclear program. G7 foreign ministers also called for all parties to avoid actions that could further destabilize the region.
A large blast seen over the Gaza Strip early today as Israeli strikes continue. Gaza officials claim at least 74 people killed in Gaza on Monday, with airstrikes with 30 dead in the airstrikes and 23 killed in gunfire near food aid camp.
Russian state media claims Moscow has taken control of the first village in Ukraine's Dnipropetrovsk region. An official says Russia now has full control over the Luhansk region.
Turkey continues to battle wildfire in southern province of Hatay. Over 50,000 people evacuated so far.
Day 1 of Wimbledon ends in controversy. Taylor Fritz's match is suspended due to the SW19 curfew, with Alexander Zverev's opener also paused. Both matches will resume on day 2. And in a sign of India's growing defense manufacturing prowess, Brazil has expressed interest in acquiring several of India's homegrown defense solutions.
These include the Akash air defense system and the Garuda artillery guns, as well as an Indian secured communication system and offshore patrol vessels.
Now, these are set to be discussed during Prime Minister Narendra Modi's upcoming visit to Brazil. During a special briefing on the visit, Ministry of External Affairs spoke of Brazil's keenness for defense collaborations with India, including joint research, technology sharing and exchange of training. Brazil is also interested in joint ventures for defense manufacturing.
Still not much progress made, but broadly we have a few areas that seem to be of interest to the Brazilian side. They are interested in secure communication systems on the battlefield. They are also interested in offshore patrol vessels, OPVs. Brazil has Scorpion submarines. They are interested in partnering with us in maintaining those submarines. They also seem to be interested in the Akash air defense system and in coastal surveillance systems, Garuda artillery guns, and so on.
Developed by India's DRDO, Akash is a medium-range mobile surface-to-air missile system. It's designed to intercept a wide array of aerial threats, including fighter jets, drone, cruise missiles, and air-to-surface missiles. The system of a range of 25 to 45 kilometers and is capable of engaging targets at altitudes up to 20 kilometers. Akash played a key role during Operation Sindoor, successfully repelling multiple drone and missile attacks from Pakistan.
The Garuda artillery system is another indigenous platform. The Garuda 105 is an ultra-lightweight mobile artillery system designed for battlefield mobility and precision firepower mounted on a 4x4 wheeled chassis. It offers all-terrain maneuverability, including in mountainous regions or coastal regions.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will travel to Brazil from the 5th to the 8th of July to attend the 17th BRICS Leaders Summit in Rio de Janeiro. Prime Minister Modi will also visit Ghana, Trinidad and Tobago, Argentina and Namibia during his 8-day tour. A spiritual milestone and a political flashpoint. His Holiness the Dalai Lama is approaching his 90th birthday.
And with it comes global attention, not just on his legacy, but on what lies ahead for Tibetan Buddhism.
Now, speaking from his residence in Dharamsala, a hilly town in the Indian state of Himachal Pradesh, the 1989 Nobel Peace Prize laureate said that discussions are underway to establish a formal framework for choosing his successor, a topic that has long been the subject of speculation and political sensitivity.
야고 무주니 대대하게 고 중심실에 연구를 제 가래 가네 샤샤나 정말 지 대주 전달로 가르카서 내 주의 더도이나야 담바도 저 전달이야 내 미스티기 그래서 투두기 담바도 저 전달이야
Several ministers from the Central Tibetan administration, including its elected head Penpa Tsering and Deputy Speaker Dolma Tsering, have hinted that the Dalai Lama might name his successor on his 90th birthday. Tibetan Buddhists hold that enlightened monks are reborn to carry forward their spiritual legacy. The 14th Dalai Lama will turn 90 on Sunday and has said that he will be consulting senior monks and others at the time to share possible clues on where his successor, who it would be, a boy or a girl, could be found following his death. And as followers prepare to mark his 90th birthday with prayers and celebrations, attention now turns to how and where the next Dalai Lama could emerge. For many, it's not just a matter of who, but what values the next spiritual leader will be called to uphold in a changing world.
The Dalai Lama, who has lived in exile in India since fleeing Tibet in 1959 after failed uprising against Chinese rule, has indicated that his successor will be born outside of China.
The Tibetans have significant concerns about China's presence and control in Tibet, primarily centering on the loss of their cultural identity, political autonomy and religious freedom. They fear cultural assimilation, suppression of their language and the erosion of their traditional way of life.
We are not worried about these procedures, but rather about what will happen in the future with the Tibetan causes. Right? Yes, we are worried. The big storm is coming. Right? For that, we are not escaping from that. We have dealt for the centuries and we will deal with that.
However, Beijing claims that its government has the authority to approve Dalai Lama's successor. Chinese authorities argue that any reincarnation must occur within China and follow national laws. But many Tibetans see this as a political maneuver designed to control their spiritual leadership.
China and Taiwan are at loggerheads once again.
And of course, this is amid territorial showdown. A diplomatic standoff has erupted over Taiwan's vice president car ramming claims. China has strongly denied these claims that its diplomats plotted to ram the car of Taiwan's vice president Xiao Bihim during her official visit to Europe last year. Defending its diplomats, the Chinese Foreign Ministry has called the accusations a sinister plot by Taiwan aimed at discrediting Beijing.
Firstly, Taiwan is a part of China and has no so-called vice president. Chinese diplomats overseas always respect their host country's laws and regulations. No matter how the DPP authorities try to change things up and seek independence from the outside and drive a wedge in China's diplomatic relationships, they will not be able to cover up their sinister plot, and their attempt will not succeed.
Just a day ago, Taiwanese Vice President Xiao Bihim made a statement on social media platform X. She said the Chinese Communist Party's unlawful activities would not intimidate her or stop her from representing Taiwan's interests internationally.
The controversy began after Xiao visited the Czech Republic in March of 2024. Czech media reported last year that a Chinese diplomat had run a red light while following the vice president's car in Prague. The reports further stated that the Chinese side also planned to stage a car collision targeting the Taiwanese leader.
The Czech Foreign Ministry confirmed that it had summoned the Chinese ambassador over the incident involving the alleged plot, but the ministry declined to provide further details or comment on this matter.
And Parkinson's disease is known for its linkage to neurological damage in the brain, but a new study has something different to tell.
It suggests that the disease starts in an unexpected part of the body, and it's the kidneys. Parkinson's, which is a progressive neurological disease, affects movement, coordination, and a range of non-motor functions. And the researchers now have found out that a key protein involved in the development of this disorder, called the alpha-synuclein, can build up in the kidneys and travel to the brain through the nerve pathways, which triggers it further.
The probability of this happening more is when kidney function is impaired, and the most recognizable symptoms include tremors, muscle rigidity, slowness of movement, and postural instability. But Parkinson's is not limited to movement difficulties. Many patients also experience mood disorders, cognitive decline, sleep disturbances, and digestive issues.
Now, the findings also suggest that chronic kidney disease may increase the risk of Parkinson's by allowing toxic protein deposits to accumulate and spread into the central nervous system. It also builds on the idea by turning attention to the kidneys, suggesting that there may be an overlooked point of origin for this disease process, particularly in people with poorly functioning kidneys.
Now, there are also some limitations to the study. It does not clarify whether the accumulation of the alpha-synuclein protein plays a role in all cases of Parkinson's disease. The hypothesis, backed by animal tests and human body, is way more complex to reach a conclusion.
Now, Wall Street closed the quarter on a high note as the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq hit new records.
Optimism over trade deals and strong bank results fueled the rally, with major stocks surging across tech and finance. Take a look at this next report for more.
The S&P 500 and Nasdaq hit record closing highs again on Monday, capping their best quarter in over a year, as each index rallied roughly 0.5%, while the Dow gained more than 0.6%. Trade deals with China and the UK fueled optimism that an all-out global trade war can be minimized, with hopes for more deals to be reached before President Donald Trump's July 9th deadline. The end of the quarter was also influenced by fund managers making their portfolios look more attractive at the end of the reporting period, says Chris Brigatti, Chief Investment Officer and Managing Director at SWBC.
We are experiencing a little bit of month end, so there could be some window dressing, people getting more fully invested, putting cash to work in the market as well. So that tends to influence the year-end period, month-end period as well. one of the things that I'm very thoughtful of is we continue to see further progress with regard to the tariff situation and the trade war. And as that happens, people feel more comfortable investing and putting their cash to work in the market. And I think that's what we're experiencing.
Shares of big U.S. banks, including J.P. Morgan Chase and Wells Fargo, rose after most cleared the Federal Reserve's annual stress test, paving the way for billions in stock buybacks and dividends. Shares of Juniper Networks jumped about 8.5% after the U.S. Justice Department settled its lawsuit challenging server maker Hewlett-Packard Enterprise's all-cash acquisition of the networking gear maker for $14 billion. Shares of Hewlett-Packard Enterprise surged 11%. And shares of Oracle gained 4% after the company said a new cloud services agreement is expected to contribute more than $30 billion to annual revenue starting in fiscal year 2028.
And Elon Musk has again voiced his strong criticism against the One Big Beautiful Bill and the Republican Party.
He went on next to echo his call for a multi-party system in the United States, saying it's time now for a new political party. Musk has also called the bill insane, destructive and a threat to jobs and national stability.
The bill passed by the Senate now heads to the House for a final vote. In addition, Elon Musk says a new party called the American Party will be formed if President Trump's spending bill passes. He also threatened to target lawmakers, those voting for the bill in the primary next year.
Now, many believed Musk's early apology on X would mark the end of the feud between two of the world's most influential figures. Their relationship today stands in stark contrast to how it was a few months back, when Musk was busy gathering crowds and funding for Donald Trump.
Now, after Trump got elected, Musk became a key presence at every presidential event. He was also appointed to lead the Department of Government Efficiency and reduce the national debt for the US. Musk-linked companies rejoiced, with investors betting on Musk's newly found political clout. But things soon changed. Musk's political tweets triggered public backlash and mounting pressure, eventually pushing him to retreat from politics and refocus on his companies, which took a major beating during his term in office. Tesla had already paid a price by then, and the company lost over $150 billion in market value during the height of the backlash.
After Musk left the Trump administration, things turned ugly after Musk openly criticized the Trump-endorsed spending bill, calling it a disgusting abomination. This led to a public showdown between them on social media. Musk later apologized for his tweets.
But as it stands, the silence was short-lived. Musk is at it again, openly challenging the bill's objectives and reigniting tensions with Trump. This comes a day after Trump called Musk a wonderful guy, but expressed disappointment over Musk's actions. Now, the Musk-Trump spat is again raising red flags for investors. Many are uneasy, especially after Trump earlier threatened to cut government contracts tied to Starlink and SpaceX. Tesla is already struggling with declining market shares across Europe and China. Any further escalation could fuel more volatility.
While some see Musk as bold enough to take on the presidency, others fear the economic repercussions. As of now, Musk versus Trump is very much back on. Now on to sports. Defending champion Carlos Alcaraz survived a major scare from Italy's Fabio Fognini.
And as the world number 2 began his bid for a third straight Wimbledon title with a marathon 5-set win, it was the hottest opening day on record at the championships. Temperatures touching 31.4 degrees Celsius.
And on a scorching centre court, Alcaraz was pushed to the limit by a 38-year-old veteran. The Spaniard took the first set in a tie-break, but Fognini, who's set to retire this year, stormed back to level the match in the second. Things got even trickier in the third. Fognini fought back from 3-5 down to force another tie-break, but Alcaraz held his nerve to regain the lead. The Italian, though, refused to go away, blasting 14 winners to take the fourth set 6-2. As for the first time since Roger Federer in 2010, a defending champion was taken to a fifth set in the first round at Wimbledon. There was a brief 15-minute delay before the decider after a spectator fell ill in the stands. But once play resumed, Alcaraz shifted gears. The 5-time Grand Slam winner showed his champion's mettle, closing out the match 7-6, 6-7, 7-5, 2-6, 6-1 after 4 hours and 38 minutes.
Oh well, I'm thinking like I'm improving that I'm getting mature and I know how to deal with some situations and I always say that the champions always find a way and I really want to see myself in that level of champions. I just really want to put myself like a champion that always find a way to win.
Belgium rolled out the blue carpet for Rihanna and other stars who turned out for the world premiere of the new Smurf movie.
Now, Rihanna produced Smurfs and voices Smurfette in the Summer Family film, a live-action animated reboot that takes the little creatures on a Smurfette-led rescue mission to save Papa Smurf. Here's the report.
Don't be a quitter. Life throws a bunch of stuff at you. You have to lean into the Smurf berries of it all. And don't be a quitter. Challenges come, challenges go. I love Smurfette because she's such a leader, she's such a boss, but she's gentle. She takes her time to encourage. She's not very, she doesn't go down your throat with it and intimidate you.
I've watched the Smurfs my whole life. Like as a small kid, I remember watching the Smurfs. I had Smurfs stuffed animals, I had Smurfs toys, books. So to be here is a very cool moment.
Well, I think, growing up in the UK, it was on all the time, the Smurfs. So what I love about the film is that it's both nostalgic and brand new at the same time, So I'm very excited for people to see it. I really am, yeah.
Not just human beings, but this scorching heat is affecting animals as well. Berlin Zoo in Germany has made elaborate arrangements to help the animals withstand the heat. We are going to leave you here with this report. We'll take a quick break. After that, stay with us.
India's Global Voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the U.S.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of.
A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA.
Join the conversation.
Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders. Psychopaths who defy explanation. International war crimes. And millions swindled in financial fraud. The victims, the accused, and the sinister plot. Prime Crime is your front row seat to darkness.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.